When I heard the theme of this evening's TEDx event, Brick by Brick, my mind instantaneously went to the iconic brick building of the C.J. Hooker Middle School. As a student at C.J. Hooker Middle School, I was like every other 12-year-old. I even had one of those oversized backpacks, like many middle schoolers, because I was terrified of lockers. Yes, I still am. The thought of opening a locker under 3 minutes still makes me sweat. I met friends in junior high school that eventually became my high school friends, and some of those friends are lifelong friends. We even won a Section 9 football championship. I loved growing up in Goshen, and I'm honored to be the current Goshen High School principal, and I hope to one day hand a diploma to my very own kids, Lily and Jack, along with the countless students of the very same classmates that I went to school with. I remember my own graduation, sitting in a metal folding chair in the middle of the infield of the historic Trotter track, of course, in sweltering heat. And I remember a quote from a speech that day that has stuck with me. It's been a few years, so I'll paraphrase. Look fondly upon your high school years, but look forward to the next chapter where you'll meet your friends for life. Upon graduating and attending Cortland State University, I met my friend, my best friend, who this story is about this evening, Rob Guzzo. I met Rob in the fall of 1996, and I quickly learned that Rob was a star football player from Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and he was following in his father's footsteps as a member of the Cortland football team and a member of Beta Phi Epsilon, which we'd both be a part of. Rob has a personality and a sense of humor that literally lights up the room. His actual nickname is the Walking Holiday. Rob loves dressing up for every occasion, and what's very notable about these slides, none of them took place during Halloween. He also has a childlike innocence about him. I remember being in the dorms and walking across the hall and seeing the posters Rob had up in his room. Typical posters like a 12-year-old, but he wasn't 12, that's the funny part. Chicago Bulls, 49ers, some classic teams of the 90s, but he also had a poster of the Navy SEALs. He fantasized about being a Navy SEAL like a 12-year-old would fantasize about scoring a touchdown or making a three-point shot. And my friends would all snicker to Rob, guys that dress as Teletubbies and bunnies don't become Navy SEALs. Then an event happened that changed all of our lives. It was my first year teaching at Washingtonville Middle School, and I saw the first plane hit the tower in the faculty room. And during the events of the school day, the horrific events of 9/11 played out. I remember going home that evening, logging on to Facebook, and seeing a post from Rob that would change the trajectory of his life. What I didn't realize about Rob, that Rob came from a naval family. His mom was one of the highest ranking naval officers in the Navy, and his dad not only was a Navy SEAL, but he was a Navy SEAL trainer. Rob always wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And upon graduating Cortland State University with a degree in his hand, he enlisted in the Navy. He was accepted into the SEAL program, defied all odds, and became a Navy SEAL just like his dad. That Teletubby, that bunny we joked around, now had a new level of swagger. Rob was deployed 3 months later to Ramadi, Iraq, with a heavy heart from losing friends during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and into a hornet's nest of conflict. Rob ultimately suffered from a traumatic brain injury, was honorably discharged, and received the highest Naval Commendation Medal of Valor for not only saving members of his SEAL Team 5, but over 22 civilians. So Rob would go home to San Diego, enroll in San Diego State to pursue his master's, and he started acting classes. He even received a role in Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon. And Rob also loved hanging out and playing with his daughter, Jenna May. I remember talking on the phone with Rob. He would tell me how he'd decorate his daughter's, Jenna May's, room like a princess. And I would say, Rob, Navy SEAL, college student, you're in San Diego, you're in Transformers, beautiful family. Who has it better than you, Rob? Well, we didn't realize that Rob suffered from horrific memories, nightmares, and survivor's guilt from the friends he lost during Operation Iraqi Freedom. On the worst days, like Memorial Day and Veterans Day, his parents would go fly out to give him support. Then on 2012, November, Veterans Day, Rob went out with a few of his buddies. They talked about war stories. Rob would come home, open up his laptop, look at friends that passed away, some conflict during the battles, and he took his life. My best friend, the Navy SEAL, father, son, brother, gone, just like that. It's been over 10 years since Rob's passing, and Rob has left a legacy for all who have known him. So let tonight serve as part of that legacy, and to remember that no matter what you look like on the exterior, how tough you are, what job you have, everyone can suffer from trauma. And in the years since Rob's passing, it's been my passion to advocate for mental health resources, not only for veterans, but for our youth and young adults. And here's what I've learned. Over every 2/3 of adults suffer from one traumatic event in their lives. 1 in 4 adults have suffered from an adverse childhood experience, or ACE, before they're 18. 1 in 6 adults have suffered from 4 or more adverse childhood experiences. To put that into perspective, if you have an ACE score of 4, you're 12 times more likely to suffer from alcohol abuse, drug abuse, depression, and suicidal tendencies. And to get this full circle, I think about the kids that I spoke about in the beginning of the presentation, carrying those heavy backpacks, or even my own kids, or your own kids, walking the halls of SIS, Luke and Friends, GIS, the middle school, the high school. But it's not the question about the backpacks, the heavy backpacks that they're carrying. It's the backpacks that we can't see and invisible bricks inside. So let's remember to have a little compassion, have a little empathy, take mental health a little bit more serious, and overcome the stigma that asking for help is weak, because it's not. And if we can do that, we can save the next Rob Guzzo. Thank you.